Or is he simply trying to score political points? Or both? Let's talk about it now with our panel. These are all Republican voters who watch this debate and have some thoughts on this. Jay Townsend, let me start with you.
Yes, please.
Does he tap into a narrative that exists and is felt by Republicans or conservatives?
He touched a nerve, and the nerve is this. Let's go back to 2008. Everybody in the press corps knew that John Edwards was two-timing his cancer-stricken wife. Not a word was said. Everybody knew that John Kerry had gone through a difficult divorce. Why didn't they air a segment of his ex-wife 2 days before a primary or an election? The media was the chief apologist for what went on during the Clinton years. This is the double standard to which conservatives and Republicans really object, and that's part of the nerve he touched last evening.
Double standard, do you agree? Tony Selig.
Oh, without a doubt. And you don't forget the Dan Rather story that was fabricated about George W. Bush's alleged service in the National Guard in Texas. But look, the proof is in the pudding. 16-point swing for Newt since Tuesday, and it's been reaffirmed by last night's performance. Not by attacking Mitt Romney, not by attacking Rick Santorum or Ron Paul, by attacking Juan Williams, or rather responding to Juan Williams and John King, because the Republican electorate does believe, whether or not Democrats want to say it's not true or not, in their DNA, that there's a media bias against Republicans, and he tapped into that.
Now, Didi Benke, we learned on Tuesday you're no fan of Newt Gingrich, but does he espouse a strength, a confidence, an ability to sort of take down his opponent that appeals?
Well, you know, remember he called Mitt Romney a liar and said he's full of pious baloney, which I don't know, it sounds kind of interesting at this point. But he definitely is a good debater, and he's good at invoking emotion. And he did make the good point that the elite media, they do have a double standard. So, you know, give him points on that. But it doesn't mean that he doesn't sound hypocritical. And for him to sound like a victim, I'm sorry, it just didn't work for me.
Go ahead.
You know,
sorry, Mary Walter.
Yeah, politicians are hypocritical, and we all know that. That is not news. But the media is hypocritical. And finally, somebody stood up and called them out on being hypocritical. Last night was a come-to-Jesus moment for the media, because I think they were shocked when they saw the reaction of the crowd. They weren't expecting it. And it was finally, like we've been saying, it's finally someone calling them out on being hypocritical for once.
Do you think it taps into something? It's not just that those Republican voters in that audience felt that Newt Gingrich was being beat up on, but that they, conservatives, Republicans, feel that their issues are not given enough, fair coverage, that kind of thing.
Right.
Tim White in the
This
back.
might have been the final straw. I mean, it was particularly egregious, this ABC News piece, coming out some 48 hours before the South Carolina primary. Its timing, it's very obvious, and I think a lot of people in the audience saw it for what it was. And the fact that Newt brought that up and really was so aggressive was a great time to do this and stand up.
You know, there's a piece in Politico today that talks about how he's also tapping into this, his angry thing there, is tapping into some anger that some Republicans feel, some voters feel in this country, that they're mad as hell and they're not going to take it anymore, and they like seeing somebody who has that same passion. Do you think that that's working for him? Go ahead, Tracy Davis.
But I think that his anger is a little bit over the edge. I mean, just like I said last time, when the second time when he was talking to John, he was literally angry. I think it was an unbelievably brilliant deflector, and he tapped into something that we all feel. I worked for President Bush on the campaign, and there was no Fox News there. And
President Bush 41.
And yes, and every single place we went, I can't even tell you what the media was like. We'd go to an event, it would be an unbelievably fantastic success, and you'd watch it on the news, and it would act like he was a total loser, out of touch. It was really, really painful. So,
and yet, is there a danger, as she seems to point out, in being angry? It might, feel good at the moment, but over the long haul, is that going to work?
It's a character flaw.
It's slightly beyond. It's slightly beyond anger. It's passion.
Yes,
and that's what I think.
Yes,
and that's what I think Newt has to be very careful about, because he's obviously tapping into something. It is his palpable anger. Part of it's also because the people feel duped by the media in 2008, who didn't just have a bias against Republicans, but against anyone who wasn't Barack Obama. They went against Hillary Clinton, who they once purported to be the best thing since sliced bread.
Selig, go ahead.
I think we're missing the call of the question. The fact of the matter is, Newt Gingrich was able to assign responsibility to the individual who actually attacked him. And that is sorely missing in our present and past administrations. That's why we have a war on terror rather than a war on the sponsoring states. I think this showed a great deal of character for him, and it makes him appear, and I believe he is, presidential.
But was it an attack? Because, you know, John King has come out and said, look, I had to ask it. You know, it's like, I mean, I'm not going to let the whole debate go by and not mention it. Go ahead, Penny Nance.
Well, I would say that the unintended consequences of this, even though I don't think this is what ABC wanted, is this was a vetting process, and it was an important vetting process because this is an important issue. Divorce is an important issue. Half of our kids live in a home without a mom and a dad, and the adultery issue is real. And so now it's out there. The whole thing, we think, is out there. And it come a general election, if he actually wins, and it looks like he may win South Carolina, if he actually wins the general, it's done. I think it's over with.
Just because he had a good TV moment doesn't mean that he's a good candidate, doesn't mean he's a good person. I mean, and doesn't mean that his ex-wife is not telling the truth. We don't know. It's a he said, she said.
You know,
Megan,
sorry, I haven't gotten Lenwood Brooks in. Go ahead,
it's a fair question to ask, but also the first question of the debate, the unemployment as high as it is, the debt sky high, there's a lot more serious problems. But what Newt did when he answered the question, he stayed on offense. He blamed the media, and by reframing the question, he took control. I mean, this story that his ex-wife came out with would either sink him or backfire, and we're still waiting to see what would happen.
Yeah, there's a question about whether there'll be empathy for him.
I think when it seeps in, it's going to not play well with women voters.
Exactly.
And also, it's going to be interesting if he wins the nomination, just to think of a first lady who, you know, basically stole somebody's husband.
Oh, come on.
Go for him.
Are we
His
looking?
power
Wait,
certainly wasn't
are we looking to
physical.
Washington to be our moral guidepost? Looking to someone in Washington to be my moral beacon, because if I'm looking for that, I've got very slim pickings.
What do you think about the anger issue? Because they say that women in particular have an issue with somebody who's angry over the long haul, that won't play well with women in the long haul.
As long as I can put a roof over my head and I can feed my kids, if I can't currently do that, you can be as angry as you want. I don't care.
A lot of Americans are angry right now.
Exploding bomb.
should let women answer this question.
Just like his campaign, it goes up and down like this.
Santorum is
That's
right
new.
about that.
He goes
But
up
one
and
last
down.
point, because even though he is, you know, more volatile or passionate, he has been saying, I am the one who can debate
Yes.
Barack Obama.
He can.
He's been saying, look at
He
Mitt
can.
Romney. He may be a good guy, but he's not that effective a debater. Does that appeal to any of you who
Yes.
weren't necessarily Gingrich fans?
I still don't like him.
Sure, we're forced.
I don't like him.
You see, our
But he's
You don't
a good-
like Gingrich?
I don't like him, but he's a good debater, and I seriously think he can wipe the floor with Obama.
We
And
spontaneously clapped for him watching him on TV from my
Yes.
own living room, and trust me, I have no love for Newt Gingrich. But back to your original question, Megan, the Republican electorate does believe there is a bias,
Yeah.
and worse, it's kind of like having a Red Sox announcer call a Yankees game. That bias goes into how they're conducting these debates. Think about George Stephanopoulos'
not
question
that bad.
in New Hampshire about contraception being banned at a state level. Do you think Republican primary voters have registered in a poll that they're worried about contraception being banned at the state level? No, but it's
Right.
part of their liberal agenda
Right.
that they're seeping into their
But
conduct in these
it's
debates.
like
very
launching
I gotta leave it at that.
to a
It was-
fifth grader
Listen, it was a great
compared to
discussion.
what
Thank
they're-
you all so much
Thank
for
you.
being here. We appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Megan.
As always. Interesting, right? It's just interesting to hear people's thoughts.